Because he loved me so much, he gave me his name. And my mom loved him so much, she let him do it. But what it means, it's just this, I'm alive. In the first service, I shared for the first time, and now I'm sharing this again for the second time, that, there's that expression, if you want to make God laugh, tell him your plans. It's a very famous joke. And, this week brought many news, that sober a lot of us up, that kind of thing. For me, in my own personal life, I got the news that put things into perspective. Of course, a doctor earlier this week, I just went in there for just a routine checkup and find out that I have an enlarged heart. So, as a runner, that means a little shift in my way of living, but it totally puts things into perspective. Yeah. And with that heart condition, whatever, I'm not really afraid of death. I enjoy life so much. And I can say that because my uncle taught me the biggest lesson of my life. My uncle, Duke Win, was born in Vietnam in 1953, in the South. In his teenage years, he became a soldier and he fought in the Vietnam War for the South. And when the war ended, he became a refugee and he came to the United States through Pennsylvania. My uncle Duke Win. Eventually, he made his way to California, to San Diego in particular, where I was born and raised. And he met my aunt, and he became my uncle. And at my first communion, because I grew up Catholic, he was my godfather. Imagine that. The young Catholic boy about to receive his first communion, and my godfather is a Buddhist. That's just how my family rolls. And my uncle also enjoyed working on cars. He loved it so much that he opened up a shop in San Diego, California, where he fixed cars and brought them back. I know because I took some of my cars there. And it was in this shop that in 2009, they found him unconscious on the ground, on the floor of his shop. My uncle was diabetic, so we don't know if he had a diabetic episode. He took care of himself, but like I said before, if you want to make God laugh, tell me your plans. We don't know if something fell on his head or someone hit him in the head. All we know is that he was unconscious on the floor of the garage. And as they took him straight to emergency, he was unresponsive, but they saw other signs that they didn't like. So by the time they took him to the emergency room and straight to ICU, because they discovered that his brain had begun to swell. So in order to try to save his life, they cut out a piece of his cranium in order to relieve the pressure, in order to save his brain. But after some time and some testing, his reactions slowly became primitive, which means that he was no longer dreaming, which means his mind was no longer working. The brain was no longer perceiving. It was brain dead. My aunt and cousins went in to talk to the doctors, and the doctors told them the news that I just shared with you today. And my aunt made the tough choice of respecting my uncle's wishes, which is, if he's ever in a place where his life depends on a machine, then that's not really life. That if you want to find God's will, you'll disconnect and you will find Him and you will see. So my aunt disconnected and told the doctor to let him go. My aunt came out, and my mom and myself were waiting outside in the waiting area. And the energy that moves it is the Nawal. All traditions find the same root. I am not this body, but I am the force. I am that life. I am the intent that gives it life. And if you understand this concept, you might also understand this next one. I am also not this mind. In my uncle's story, the first thing to go was the mind. So if you understand this concept, that I am not the body, that I'm not the mind, but I am the force that gives life to both, which means I am the whole. I am a living being with a full capacity to go in any direction in life. For as long as I am alive, anything is possible. Miguel, take a step to the left. Yes, thy will be done. That 3-letter word, yes, represents the moment where I make the choice to use the energy that animates this body, that animates this mind, to manifest something. It's incredibly powerful. Yes. Miguel, take a step to the left. Yes, thy will be done. Miguel, take a step to the right. No. Please take a step to the right. No. My. And the answer is yes. I'm 41 years old, and I can say with complete certainty that it's a gift to pass away surrounded by the people you love. Not all of us get that opportunity, so when we get it, it's a gift. It's an honor. So we decided to say yes, of course. So we prepared ourselves for a ceremony we called the Last Communion. We went and sat on our seats and let our emotions flow to honor ourselves. This hurts. This is painful. And the anger and the frustration that comes with it. Letting all those emotions flow at a time so that it doesn't cloud my vision when we're there. Honoring and respecting ourselves, loving ourselves, is respecting that how I feel is the truth. And as we prepared ourselves, the nurse came out to let us know that he was ready. We walked in and they gave us some privacy. They put curtains around his gurney to give us some privacy. They cleaned him up as best they could, and they only had the heart monitor connected to him. We surrounded my uncle, and part of the ceremony is to put our hands on him. And I have to say, I was lucky enough to hold his hand. Now here's the thing. Even though my uncle was completely unconscious, I can still feel him. I can still feel his presence. I can still feel his essence. He's right here. I can feel the warmth, the dexterity of his hand. He was alive. Even though his mind was no longer functioning, he was alive, and I can feel him. He's right here. And we begin, and the ceremony simply is telling stories, sharing our memories. My uncle was a brick of a man. Big buff. He was a Vietnam War veteran, and he was a mechanic. But he was also Mr. Twinkle Toes in a dance. He loved to dance. My favorite picture of my Uncle Duke was of him dancing with my aunt. My Uncle Duke with his little mustache going like this. So happy, it's that huge smile that lit up the room, just like that. And my aunt, very regal. I enjoy it. I have that memory, as beautiful as it is, and seeing who the man was. And we told us stories of the times where he made us laugh, the times that made us go grrr, those times he made us shock it. We told his life story. We're telling the story of a man that lived. But as we're telling stories, something began to change. I tell you, it's the most difficult thing to watch someone drown in front of you, and there's nothing you can do about it. We couldn't continue to tell the stories. It was too much, but we still with him. My uncle was gone. Despite the pain of losing my uncle, despite that whole moment, my uncle at that very moment taught me the biggest lesson of my life. A lesson that my father, Don Miguel Ruiz, and my grandmother, Madre Sarita, have been trying to teach me throughout my life up to that point. And of course I could give a class or even give a lecture, because I understood it intellectually, I understood it conceptually, but I hadn't had the aha moment with it. That life lesson. And unfortunately, it was through my uncle that this lesson was taught in this way.